GM, welcome to DAO Heroes, a channel for crypto professionals, people who create DAOs, people who work in DAOs, invest in DAOs, and changing careers to move to Web3. We do explainers, tutorials, product reviews, experiments, and as today, expert interviews. Today we're talking about learning DAOs. What are they? How to do a good learning DAO? What are the learning DAOs to know? Whether the Web3 based education will replace or complement the existing forms of education. Today, our guest is Nick Dewilde from Invisible College, and this is one of the most exciting and interesting learning DAOs out there with very robust community and a lot of internal activities. They did amazing artwork, NFT artwork sale and airdrop. I'm really jealous of their kind of art style. So we'll talk about that. And welcome, Nick.
Yuri, thank you for having me. I'm jealous of your amazing book collection.
Thank you. That was my coping mechanism for a previous startup that didn't work out. So that I found.
I'll get some fantasy recommendations from you.
Yeah, I have a Goodreads account. Awesome. So let's start with a quick your personal background. So how you come to Web3, what's your role in Invisible College, what's the scope of role, like what are you doing, how long have been Invisible College around, and what's ahead?
Sure, yeah. So my career has mostly been in education. So I graduated from business school in probably 2015, and then helped run a boot camp that trained product designers, growth marketers, sales and BD folks. Exited that after about 4.5 years, and then moved to Guild Education. And Guild helps companies like Walmart, Target, Disney help their frontline workers earn debt-free degrees. And so I led product marketing there, and then kind of caught the Web3 bug while I was on paternity leave. I'd invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum and a bunch of less successful coins back in 2017, but really kind of 2021 was sort of the first time you could really do stuff in crypto. We looked at Web3 and found a few interesting things. Like one is Web3 is like lucrative to learn right. Like if you had really mastered crypto in like 2013, you would have been really happy that you did. It's also challenging to learn. There are all sorts of concepts that are really tricky to understand. I forget who said this, but it's like a back end revolution, right? It's not like mobile where you can sort of grasp the changes intuitively. And then the third is like it's very risky to learn wrong. There are all sorts of scams and hacks and all sorts of things where there's a lot of risk. And so we decided we wanted to build a school that kind of mirrored people's journey into Web3. So in Web 2, what happens is you start out a builder. If you make enough money, then you become an accredited investor. In Web 3, it's the opposite. You actually start out an investor just by like touching any product. Like working for a DAO, you're suddenly an investor. You're holding this basket of volatile tokens. If you get the magic moment of being an investor, then you'll become a builder. And so that's at least the path that happened for us and what I've seen multiple times with people. And so we wanted to build a school that sort of worked in that way. And so as we were kind of talking to people about it, we asked people to why haven't you bought your first NFT yet? And what we heard was, hey, I don't want to end up holding a bunch of toads and penguins when the market falls out under this, and then I have to go tell my significant other that we can't go on vacation because of all these JPEGs. And so we were thinking like, hey, could we build an NFT project that would last through a bear market, where essentially instead of being built off hype, we could build it off of a real base of value. So essentially pair a school with an NFT collection. And the way you can kind of think of it is like, what we're doing is we're building cohort-based courses, and those courses have some dollar value, and we charge that money to customers who are interested in learning about Web3. But as a holder, you get access to all the courses that we build. And so anytime we release a course, you not only get to benefit from it as a customer, but also in theory, the price of that course should go down to the bottom line of your NFT. And so really you get to kind of benefit from it twice. And we thought that was just a really cool model. And so that's
essentially you pay for the course once, but then you have like the permanent access to all the future courses and future libraries.
You pay for the NFT. So there are two ways to access the course. You can either pay for the course or you can pay for the NFT and get access to all of our courses. But the idea is you buy the NFT and you get access to this library of courses. And you can access them both as a student, but also you get the benefit of their value as an NFT holder.
Yeah,
So
because you can resell the NFT or the floor price for NFT goes up because the library gets bigger.
Exactly. So Invisible College, we create courses. We have a private event series for all of our NFT holders, which you've been a part of
Yeah.
graciously. And then we have a private Discord community. We do probably 3 or 4 events each week. And it's a really kind of robust community. We have our community manager is excellent. He's sort of like constantly scouring Web3, bringing back the most interesting stuff. It's a special community. So we're really excited, and we're excited to finally be launching our first courses.
Awesome. Great. So what do you see in learning DAOs in general? Like, so Invisible College is one. Do you have any peers or the projects you try to steal good idea, like I don't know, get inspired by? And who is like the top tier learning DAOs today?
Yeah, there are a lot of great learning DAOs. Odyssey DAO is great. A friend of mine, Peter Yang, runs it. He's really like a content creator, and so like built this kind of a really nice kind of explainer guide for Web3, and they do. I think they've got a boot camp they're running around it. So it's really cool stuff there. A friend of mine, Bomik, runs Crypto Culture and Society, which is sort of a humanities for Web3. Of course, all these organizations change daily, so the goals can change and things like that. But like I've been really impressed with the experimentation. It's such a fun space to be in. The people who are in it. We're all kind of like, looking at different business models. We all started out in different ways.
What are the numbers to know about Invisible College? How many students or NFT holders or the size of the treasury? What are the key metrics you guys kind of keep an eye on?
Yeah, so unlike a lot of NFT projects, we actually decided we wanted to hold at least half of our tokens in the treasury. And the reason for that is like we sort of see ourselves in a different way than other NFT projects, whereas like most NFT projects, their value is highest at mint, right? Because that's like the moment of the most hype, right?
Just to clarify, when you say we will keep over half of tokens, you mean NFT tokens, the non-fungible?
NFT tokens.
Okay,
exactly,
so over half of NFTs are not yet sold.
Exactly. And it would be like selling all the shares of your company at the seed valuation, which is just which no one would do.
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense.
So
awesome.
So in terms of our we have 5,000 people in Discord. We've got some amount of Twitter followers in the 3,000s, and then a big newsletter audience that's sort of growing all the time. And really like
newsletter is interesting. So do you have more people on newsletter or on Discord, or like what's the ratio there?
I think we have more people on Discord, but I think our newsletter audience is probably, it's more, email is still the best way to communicate with people. Discord burns people out, right? You're in hundreds of them, and like you're getting pinged all the time. And so, we think of our Discord as kind of the community hub, but like number of people in Discord it's a nice metric, but it's a little bit of a vanity metric. I think
Discord seems to be the best place for the most engaged, like the core people, while the full membership might more engage more on Twitter or email or something like more easy to
totally
access and navigate. Awesome. So about 5,000 in Discord, some less number on newsletter, 3,000 on Twitter. How many NFT holders or graduates?
So we've got about a little over 1,000 something holders of our NFTs. We've got some orgs. Actually, we have one org that like decided to do a big buy of our NFTs. So that's about 1,000 of them, called Starship Guild, and that's actually a play to earn gaming guild my partner runs. And so we ultimately the kind of strategy for us is like over time, as we release more courses and the catalog gets more valuable, we end up selling more from our treasury. And so that's kind of our goal, but we didn't want to do that just at the mint when we had no course library.
And how much does it cost a single NFT, or at the mint, or is it the price is changing over time, or there is a set price?
The mint price was 1.5 Solana, and like you can still find NFTs every now and then at 1.5 Sol. We haven't done a lot of marketing push, and we won't do it until we have courses. And so for us, what we cared about is like we wanted a mint price that would hold and just grow, where we wouldn't have to worry about the floor falling out. And that's generally what's happened. We've had this nice 1.5 Sol price, and we'll start doing pretty aggressive marketing once we have courses where we can actually say, hey, now your NFT buys $1,000 worth of courses, and the price to value ratio is X, right? You decide what to do, right? Now your NFT buys $5,000 worth of courses. Suddenly you have a choice, right? Like you can buy this NFT, which is some fraction of that, or potentially some multiple of that. So that's kind of the way we see it happening over time.
Wonderful. Do you keep the money that you generate from NFT sales in the DAO treasury, or in a operating team multisig wallet, or in a regular bank account, and convert them to USD as fast as possible? Or like what do you do with the proceeds?
We keep it in a multisig wallet, but it's all or mostly in USDC. We keep a little bit in Sol just because that's our where we
and there is
from,
no on-chain link between, say, DAO voting and that multisig.
No, and we I'm a fan of voting to a certain extent. I think I tend to like voting in terms of I'm a little bit of like a technocrat when it comes to DAO voting. I kind of want the people who understand the topic best to be the ones voting on it, and I want them incentivized to vote. So what we do is we have advisory councils, and those advisory councils are maybe 5 or 6 people that really understand this topic, that are there to kind of do advisory type voting, right? Like ultimately one person will kind of make the decision, but those people will all kind of weigh in.
Advisory vote. Awesome. And where the vote happens? Is it happens in Discord? Is it happens on chain? And
in Discord, very, very informal, right? And it's sort of like someone.
Are those advisors compensated? Do they get free NFTs? Do they get tokens? What do they get?
We do a 2 NFT stipend, and the way we kind of think about it is like, on the one hand, right, there's like a customer relationship where you're essentially paying for something. On the other hand, there's an employee relationship where you are being paid to do something. This advisor relationship is something closer to the middle, where it's like, we really want to make an amazing social experience for these advisors. We want it to be something that they would want to do for free, but we want to like give them a small stipend so that they feel like they're at least aligned with us. And we also want to be able to recruit people from outside the community to be advisors. And so that's why we do at least a 2 NFT advisor stipend.
All right. So what do you see the craziest things happening in learning DAOs? Any like crazy stories, like someone made $1 million teaching crypto, or someone sold like, I don't know, 10,000 people for a course, or like any breakthrough results so far in learning DAOs?
I don't know across learning DAOs. So the first, we launched projects out of Invisible College, and so the one that my partners and I worked on, this was something post that we started after Invisible College, was a play to earn gaming guild called Starship Guild, and we built it in public within Invisible College because frankly we wanted to make sure that like our members could like see how we were doing it and ask questions along the way. And so that ended up raising about $2 million in a weekend. So that was pretty exciting in terms of
was it on equity and token warrants, or what was the structure there?
So tokens. So that's essentially launched it using a DeFi protocol. We forked Ohm and used that as a fundraising tool.
Where do you think it feels that learning DAOs just getting started? It's like it is such an early time. Yeah, there are 2, 3, 4, 5 like high profile DAO projects. They get things started, sell NFTs, building courses, starting their content operations, student admissions, community, Discord. But really, like the full tokenomics, the roles, the who will make how much and from what, it's all kind of TBD. So what are the next big achievements for the industry, for the learning DAOs as a category? Where do you think the most exciting things will happen in the 6 months or 12 months?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of questions around I think it'll probably look a lot like kind of creator communities, right? Where you'll get a whole bunch of creators who are making content together, except they'll be teachers and subject matter experts. And so I think that's probably the future for learning DAOs. I think people will try very different models, and I think it's too early to say exactly what they'll look like across the board, or if they'll all have kind of one similar model. I think we're pretty bullish on the idea of starting with an NFT collection and being able to have that collection just access more and more value. I think really, and when I think about I do less like comparing us to other learning DAOs and a little bit more comparing us to other NFT projects where like, I think ultimately sort of the killer use case for NFTs is to be able to give customers access to really valuable products and services and essentially double the value of those by giving them the opportunity to resell that value. And so if they get in early, right, then they get to not only benefit from it as sort of users, but they get to resell that benefit as more and more benefit accrues.
And the trick to get that is a fixed supply. So I would say the number of NFT holders is like 10,000, that's it. And so when the room is full and we finally sold the last NFT from Treasury, the only way to get in is convince one of the existing members to part ways with their NFT.
Yep, exactly.
What have you learned over the last 6 months? Like you're building learning DAOs, you've maybe learned how to do NFT art or how to build a Discord or how to attract teachers or how to build a curriculum. What are the most interesting kind of areas of learning for you have been?
I mean, I think there's so many interesting learnings in community building and just how to organize people. I think, when we started Invisible College, it was at the height of conversation about how DAOs are so different than other organizations. And what I've learned is that certainly in some ways they are, but it's the same humans. And those humans need a lot of the same structures that have worked for a really long time. And so I think it's been a lot of like relearning lessons about like why we do things certain ways in organizations and why when you take those things away, things go wrong. And that's been really powerful for me, like seeing, what things actually work in getting a bunch of people rallied together to do something important.
So what are some of the incentive mechanisms that you guys implementing successfully, or maybe what are the incentives that backfired or didn't work out?
I think that honestly, we've brought on people as essentially full-time staff, right? And like that as an incentive mechanism has been pretty powerful. This whole idea that
I suddenly felt guilty. I just remember some of the DAOs I'm part of where I did start ghosting the meetings.
Totally. It's like there's this whole idea that DAOs need to be like ultra contributor friendly, and
yep.
and I think there's something special about that. But at the same time, all the slack that you give to contributors has to be taken on somewhere else, right? And it's either the most dedicated people to the DAO who have to take it on by like essentially being daycare managers, or it's the organization itself, which just is diminished and has sort of less success.
So if I hear you right, it's basically some sort of ladder of contributor roles, like core team and like senior contributors and junior contributors or whatever, where like if you are like high tier contributor, then you have more rewards, but there are more expected from you. And if you are like lower tier, like you have more freedom, but then you have less rewards.
Yeah, and I frankly think that that a lot of the sort of, I think that the high tier contributors who are really dedicated and want to make this either a full-time or like a very serious part-time commitment, I think that makes a ton of sense. I think community members who want to pitch in and jump in every now and then makes a ton of sense. I think having people who kind of have jobs and are kind of within groups and are kind of supposed to do work, if that work matters to the DAO at all, right? Beyond just like a labor of love or a fun thing, it's a really kind of ineffective way to run an org. And I think
interesting. So the high tier works, the low tier works, the middle tiers don't work.
Yeah, and I think it may have been fine to do that experimentation during a bull market when everyone's tokens were going up. But when we're in a tighter moment, right, we're like spending your treasury right matters. Like that's a moment when you really need to make sure everyone's doing things that align with the purpose of the organization.
Okay, so the most interesting part, at least for me, what controversial opinions do you have? Where do you see people disagreeing in learning DAOs and like how to run a DAO? Where you see you take the position A and some of your friends or colleagues on the market take the position B?
Oh man, well, I think that was probably one of them. I think governance in general is not very useful, and for the most part, people.
That's the title right there. The governance of DAOs is not very useful, said Nick Dewilde.
Yeah, I shouldn't say governance isn't useful, but I should say the idea of democratic voting to have every single person weigh in on every single thing. It is a really it's an effective way to kind of hamstring the people who are actually doing real work, and also to like abdicate responsibility. Frankly, like I think that if having community democratic governance worked, you would have more companies trying to do that, right? But you don't, and that should be a signal to us that like there's something that doesn't totally work about it. Now, the Invisible College is different.
How would you call your system of governance? Is it the monarchy? Is the constitutional republic? Is it what's the analogy for what you guys do?
Yeah, I would almost say it's it's definitely much more top down. We have these advisory councils, which almost serve as kind of boards of directors for different areas. So like we have a merch store advisory council, we have a corporate education advisory council, we have an ecosystem partnerships advisory council, right? And like, let's say someone comes to us and they say, like, hey, we want to partner with Invisible College. I'll have them write up a form, share this with the group. The group all votes it down. Ultimately, I'm still the one acting on this. And so like I can overrule them if I want to, but it would be stupid to, because frankly, they'll want to leave and it will be a bad situation.
Is there any other name for those kind of subdivisions? I've heard things like sub-DAOs or guilds or pods or departments or branches. I don't know, like you called it advisory work streams, working groups. Like what's the most common name for those kind of elements or divisions or departments of DAO?
We used to have working groups, and I changed them to advisory councils because frankly, I wanted it to be a high leverage way for people with expertise to contribute versus having all of them working on something, right? It's much more, they are playing that advisory role. So you can call it all sorts of things. You can call it a pod or a guild or a squad or whatever, but what matters is sort of what they do and how often. And so like, we're not giving our advisors like homework and random tasks all the time. Like they have jobs, they have serious stuff they need to do, but we value their wisdom and their counsel. And when something comes to us, we want their input and their say. And I think it's a different thing than what I see in a lot of DAOs, which is we created this group to actually do work for the DAO, but it's so
this is a great advice. I'm taking notes, and this is probably a pretty unique take that a clear distinction of doing work versus advising, and like more implementation work lies with the like full-time members, while the high profile, like high expertise, high experience part-time contributors, they more like say yes or no, more like editorial role, like what's good, what's bad, what's recommended to explore. And I think this is great. So I've heard startups having a single advisory board, but having functional advisory groups I actually designed something like that accidentally for SuperDAO. I have like 7 of those. Just for investors. We have 80 investors, so I can split them to like 8 advisory groups or something. But this is
great.
Yeah, this is awesome. Okay, I want to summarize what we've learned today. So learning DAOs, just to start, you specifically see them as a subcategory of NFT projects rather than a subcategory of DAOs, which is interesting. We've learned that Invisible College is already taking serious traction of over 1,000 NFT holders and 5,000 on Discord and many more on newsletter and Twitter. And things just getting started. You invest in content, start building courses. You also have a merch store and some other exciting kind of auxiliary divisions. You also had a huge build in public project that was kind of visible for all the members to see how actually to build things. You keep the treasury separated from the DAO or the the membership, primarily under control of the full team. You're a big believer of full-time teams. You're not a big believer of mid-tier contributors who are like kind of there and kind of not, kind of have the say, and at the same time don't do the work and don't take responsibility of what they're kind of in charge of. So that, in your opinion, doesn't work. That's great insight. And then the people who are more casual, they're welcome to voice their opinions. Direct democracy is not efficient. The advisory councils are better, and advisory councils is a kind of a structure for high experience, but high on experience, low on time kind of people to contribute in a positive way. There's a lot of learning here, so lots of lessons. Thanks for all of that. So to conclude, we were here with Nick Dewilde from Invisible College. This is one of our expert interviews on this YouTube channel, DAO Heroes. Please subscribe, like, leave a comment below, especially like what kind of contributor role you prefer. Like if you would join a DAO like Invisible College, would you be like 1 minute a week contributor? Would you be a full-time contributor? Do you like to be a mid-tier contributor? Do you have capacity to contribute to in one DAO in your life or in 1,000 DAOs, different roles? I start thinking like how many DAOs I can handle. I'm currently in like 3 or 4, and it feels already kind of too much, but still excited to learn more. So yeah, please like and subscribe, and more expert interviews coming soon. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Yuri. This is great.
Awesome.